Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy open panel Friday. This is the Pitcher Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tess. I'm here with Donald. And Donald, you are in the lead chair. I'm going to throw it to you because, we were having a quick discussion before the show about some of the pitching situations and some of the headlines. It was announced from Boone that Ryan Weathers will make the rotation. He, and the other part of it that wasn't that we also saw was LaGrange was officially sent back down to the minor leagues, even after a strong spring. But he may just need some seasoning, and they don't want to switch his role up and try to squeeze him into a bullpen role, which we've gone into that discussion before. And also, there's a comment from Healingsman Hart about Louis Heel. So I am going to throw it to you and see if we can try to make some sense of this.
So obviously, Louis Hill didn't have a good spring, but neither did Ryan Weathers. But I have seen enough of a sample size that Louis Hill, when healthy, will be fine. So I tend to give him an opportunity. I think he's merited an opportunity coming out of spring to try and right whatever is maybe setting him back a little bit. I think he deserves an opportunity, and I think he should be okay. Now, it's up in the air. I don't know what he is, but when Louis Hill's been healthy, he's been fantastic. Let's be honest. I mean, dude, rookie of the year. He's just come off a serious injury, so maybe it is going to take him a little bit of time. So I'm not going to try and rush him and start beating the table and beating the drum that this guy is this, that, and the other. Don't think that's fair on him. I think he deserves an opportunity, at least for a month or two, to see what's going on. If he continues to struggle, then we have this conversation. We revisit this conversation. Give him a couple of starts. And if he struggles, then we're going to have a serious conversation. But right now, I'll be like, it's spring. He missed basically all last year. So I think he probably deserves an opportunity to prove us wrong that he's going to be okay. So we got that. Ryan Weathers, I'm more worried about. I'm more worried about Ryan Weathers than I am Louis Hill, because we don't know what we have with Weathers yet. I know that he throws hard, but that dude has an 11.68 ERA going at. That dude was awful. He was getting lit up every single start. He got lit up. And the scary thing is, who do you turn to? Who do you turn to? If Ryan Weathers implodes, heck, if Ryan Weathers and Louis Hill implodes, what do we do? Because, I mean, you don't want to rush Rodon. You don't want to rush Garrett Cole. What do? You probably don't want to rush LaGrange, not LaGrange, LaGrange. You don't want to rush LaGrange either. But that would probably be, the automatic choice. There's one thing about Ryan Weathers is he's got a very flat fastball. It's hard. He throws at 100 miles an hour, but it's flat and it doesn't move too much. So if there's any issue with location, even if it's slightly off the mark, it's going to get absolutely bombed. And that's what we're seeing in spring. His fastball's getting absolutely bombed. And that's a real concern, guys. It really is. And Brian Cashman I keep saying this, Brian Cashman had probably the worst winter I've ever known. It's like you couldn't come up with a worse winter, where we had several issues. We didn't have enough lefties in the bullpen. We didn't have enough righty bats. We had 3 left-handed catchers. We didn't have enough starting pitching. And Brian Cashman, in wisdom, decided to address none of those concerns. Absolutely none of it. Ryan Weathers barely covers the issues that we have with our rotation as it stands. While we wait for Cole and Rodon, he didn't address the bullpen. He didn't address the 3 lefty catchers. He didn't address a righty bat in the lineup. He addressed none of our concerns. So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure now on Weathers and Louis Heel to be great off the bat, because it could be a rough April and a rough May while we wait for our 2 stars to come back. But even then, it doesn't address the multitude of lefty catchers and the lineup, which is kind of weird and clunky. He's addressed none of the concerns, and I think it's honestly a dereliction of duty, malfeasance. It's my favorite word, but it is malfeasance from Brian Cashman. And I think Ryan Weathers is part and parcel of that. The arrogance to make that your only major acquisition is honestly, it's abominable. It's disgraceful. He should have been fired. He should have been fired multiple times already. And this is it. I mean, honestly, he has a flat fastball, man. Weathers has trashed this T-Steel. That's what I'm worried about. His fastball is flat as a kipper's dick. If you even miss location with it, it's going to get bombed, as we've seen all spring. I don't see how that's going to change. What's going to happen when it gets hotter? When it gets hotter, there's a very good chance once we reach like the summer that he's going to get completely bombed. It's a real concern. So I'm more concerned about Ryan Weathers than I am Louis Heel. But I am very worried about the lack of depth in the rotation, lack of depth in the bullpen, lack of depth in the lineup in terms of righty power, and I'm concerned by this idea that you're gonna rotate 3 lefty catchers. I mean, all of this is just absurd. Absurd for $320 million. Damn, that doesn't get you very far nowadays. Anyway, we got Healing Man's Hearts backstage. Let's get him in there. Good to see Healing Man's in the chat. How's my brother doing? How are you doing, my guy?
Healing, you're on.
You're on, Healing. Can you hear us?
Right.
1 2 1 2. We should have done a sound check. Check your mic.
Yep.
Anyway, Tats,
we're gonna we'll move him back backstage until you work on your mic. The link for the open chat is in the description, so if you want to jump on and chat with us, feel free to do so. Look, Weathers had a very it wasn't good. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this where it's like, all right, where you could kind of see a silver lining. It's because he was the only non-Yankee from last year that was signed.
Right.
So they have to give him something. They had to give him a spot. Otherwise, how does that look for the Yankee organization that the only guy that they brought in from the outside didn't even make the cut?
Oh, could have put it
the egos in the front office will not allow that. And that, and that's where we're having a problem. And look, Luis Heel, the dude's a great pitcher. Just because he's having, he had a little bit of, a rough spring, doesn't mean anything. We've seen great players just kind of malaise through the spring because they don't want to overexert themselves, especially, after, last year coming back from surgery and trying to just, make his way back. Maybe he knows something we don't, where he's like, look, I can't. The spring is just going to be more mechanics and delivery. Don't look at the numbers. We say that all. I used to say it every spring.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at a lot of the stats. It might be all right. You know what? I'm going to focus on especially with the batters. I'm only looking at off speed. I got to work on my timing for off speed. So if I see it's coming in as a fastball, I'm just going to sit on it. And do it that way. So they're only looking to get their timing for that. Fielding. You might see, all right, so he botched the ball at third base. Well, he's a second baseman that's just trying to see if he's able to play another position and test his durability and his flexibility. Like that's what spring training is for. It's training. So I try not to really dive too much and go crazy about the record. I mean, we saw yesterday, with the Blue Jays and the Orioles, we didn't have the greatest game, but I'm just I the rotation. I don't think is. I think it should be more in the background. It's um the bullpen that still leaves me a bit of concern.
Yeah.
All right. The other issue that goes hand in hand with a lot of the pitching is you brought it up earlier in the private chat, with you and Luca, and it's the three catches that they're bringing in. To me, is a problem. Not that there's three catchers, it's three lefties.
It's so stupid.
All I asked, right? I think it was early in the offseason. All I asked for was a right-handed catcher. And it's no disrespect to Wells, Rice, or even Escara, right?
Yeah, right.
They're in the major leagues. They earn their way. They're not there because they're talentless. It just doesn't fit with what the team needs.
Right.
That's all. It doesn't fit what the team needs. So yeah, Escara, awesome story. We rallied with him last year. We rocked with him. All's good. But I really wish they would have done something with the catching position, because you need one. Wells has got a lot. He's going to have a lot of weight on those shoulders of his, and he had a solid WBC. Now let's see how that translates into the regular season. So
TC steals three lefty catches is absurd. It is absurd. It's absurd. It rings so many concerns to me. I was under the impression, right? I was under the impression that Ben Rice was our everyday first baseman. That was what I was under the impression with.
Yeah.
And that's why, as much as I thought first base was a big issue last year, they needed a better everyday first baseman. I was like, all right, well, clearly want Ben Rice to be that, so let's just give it a chance. But it turns out they're going to do exactly what they did last year, where Ben Rice is going to rotate at first base with Paul Goldschmidt, and he's going to rotate at catcher. But, I mean, it's a real issue when you have multiple lefty catchers. I mean, Escara is a good catcher. Don't get me wrong, but he's a lefty. And Austin Wells, good catcher. Don't get me wrong. He's another lefty. There's too many lefty catchers. They couldn't trade one of them. And so what? The plan is now to rotate Rice at first and catcher. But Goldschmidt's 40. So is he going to get more playing time than we even anticipated? It just it doesn't make sense. In my mind's eye, I'm thinking about it. And I'm thinking, this makes even less sense than it made even before. I don't understand what their thinking was this offseason. It made no sense. Run the whole thing back? Are we kidding? Are you laughing at me, Cash? Is Cashman doing this deliberately to stick his proverbial middle finger up at the fan base? Because it doesn't make any sense. You think about it, and it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. He addressed none of the concerns. None. It's
Nope.
like he just didn't listen. It's like, I'm not listening. I don't care. That's what he's doing. It's freaking absurd.
Well, according to the manager, there were no concerns, and
Right.
we're also there was a comment in the chat that there's been issues with the link. So we're gonna hope that it resolves itself. We're gonna try bringing healing back on, um, and has you get your everything worked out? Healing?
Nope. God damn it.
Still nothing, huh? That's weird. I don't know what's going on. We apologize. It is
Stuck in the matrix.
yeah,
Anybody else want to hop in? Please take the link.
uh, but it's this all started. You know, you can't say he didn't address any issues when the manager at the end of the season says that there were no issues. He would take this team back in a heartbeat. Let's try.
Stuff and things. My
Yo.
guy.
All right,
What's
there we
up,
go.
man?
Now we're starting to rock.
You sound
What's going
good,
on,
my
gentlemen?
guy.
How you been?
Doing well yourself.
I'm hanging in there. I really enjoy your stream.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. A lot of
What's
great
your
comments.
thoughts on Cashman's off season? First of all,
Well, I mean, hold on, let me just hold on. I hear double streaming in the background. I'm trying to like concentrate. Um, Part of the problem is that I think with Cashman, I think the priorities are backwards.
yeah,
In other words, like there's a lot of like indecisiveness, right? So he'll say the opening day roster will have X number of catchers on it, right? And let's just say a month goes by and then it changes. It's like, wait, no, there's not. Wait, we're gonna send this guy down. And then we're gonna send that guy. Wait, no, we're gonna do this. Like I remember there was one year where we had the decision to lead off Austin Wells last year on day one of the season. And then it lasted one game. And then there was like, oh wait, no, we're gonna change this. The constant lineup shuffling of the team is like I don't understand. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like the mess that Cashman has created as a roster is really like mind numbing to me. And then like instead of focusing on the lineup and the weaknesses in the lineup, oh wait, well no, we're gonna focus on pitching instead because we're gonna make an excuse as to like, oh well, we don't want to spend any money on free agent players. Like the last time we spent money on free agents was Carlos Beltran, Brian McKinn, Jacoby Ellsbury, and I think we signed who was it, Tanaka, right?
yes,
Right. So part of this is the thing, like the focus is not in the right area. And I think that a lot of the problem comes from you've said it on your podcast, you've said it on many of your, talks that there's no alignment in the front office. Like nobody has the same, all right, guys, let's put our brains together. Let's talk about this. How do we improve? How do we improve? And it's like nobody knows where to improve. There's no like, well, wait, the lineup, we didn't really, we didn't hit in the clutch last year consistently. Let's try to bring guys in that had that mindset of like, all right, I don't give a damn about the pressure. I don't
right.
care about it. I'm going to get done what I need to get done in the big spots. Like that's the one thing, like, listen, I've been a Yankee fan since I was 11 years old, as far back as I can remember. Okay. And part of the problem is that the Yankee old school mentality is just not there anymore. Instead of saying like, all right, well, you got to play the hot hand, right? So let's just say for our hypothetically, Bellinger is struggling. Let's just say for argument's sake, Bellinger is struggling. You got to sit him down a couple days, or you got to try to change the dynamic where it matters, right? So or even for example, let's say Aaron Judge is struggling. Let's just say he's over his last 50. I know he's the best hitter on the team, but you have to better it somehow. You got to get guys out of slumps. You got to have guys who the dynamic of the entirety is just not there. And I think that the same thing with Stanton. Look, I know how you guys feel about Stanton. I know that he's had big playoff moments. He's come up a lot in the big spot, but it's getting to a point where he's getting older. He's not going to be the same guy every year. He's not going to put up the numbers that he did in 2024 or 2021 or 2020, whatever, right? So, I mean, like, something's got to give. It's like, well, Okay, you have Ben Rice. So you saying Ben Rice at first base? Okay, leave him at first base. Make him be a catcher. DH him here and there if you have to. You have to have guys a consistent flow. And right now, there's not any of that. There's not. You got guys who are leading off one day or then batting second the next. Then you have him batting seventh. Then you have him batting eighth. Where where's the consistency? I love your podcast, guys. I think that you have it together. You got the best podcast on YouTube. I really respect you guys. You're New York guys. I came from Brooklyn when I was 9 years old. I've been a Yankee fan a long time. Let's go Knicks, by the way. I'm actually going to the game tonight, so I'll be
Oh,
looking forward to
beautiful.
that.
Let's
Yeah,
go,
I'll be
man.
good.
Have
Yeah,
fun.
let's go.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
just
look,
joined the popularity list with Donald.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Send me some pictures, man. I want to see some pictures.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and I just want to take a couple minutes to step out of my office at work because I really want to join your podcast, and I
Oh,
really am a
that's
huge fan of
awesome, man.
yours.
It's made
And
my day.
I think that, and just so I know, your podcast goes on one time, or like what, 8:30, 9 o'clock? I always forget.
Well, I mean,
What?
What time does your
Eastern
podcast start?
time, it starts at 10:15.
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been, like I said, ever since I started listening to you guys, you know what you're talking about. You're very, very honest. You're realistic about expectations and what it is going forward. Like I said, it's not that I don't I don't hate the roster. I just don't think that the Dodgers mentality, right, is in the reverse of what the Yankees used to be in the early 90s, the 2000s or whatever, when like, if I may say, like, listen, some of it falls on when free agents sign with teams. It's never going to be a guarantee. Like, let's just say, for example, Otani signed with the Dodgers and it wasn't working out, or he was like really bad or something like that. You don't know what you don't know. And I think a lot of the time, like, it's like a 50-50 with the fan base, right? Including me included. Like when we got Stanton, I was excited. I was like, okay, well, I want to see what he brings to the table. I know he is a power guy. He's probably going to be a DH because at that point he was starting to slowly come off that MVP caliber season. But I think that we need to start learning. We need to move on from like guys who are just not what they used to be. Like Stanton and just my thought, honestly, at this point, I think it's like they don't have a choice, so they have to play him every day. Well, let's just say they had a roster where they had younger guys they can bring up that they trust. Like,
Right.
for example, let's say if they really believed in Spencer Jones, and if he's that good, then he should be playing. He should bring him up, see what he can do. I, I don't understand the obsession with like we have to play Stanton. We just have to do it. Well, it's probably because they're paying him they're paying him a fair amount of money to play, but it's like where's the
Look, it doesn't have to be Stanton. You could use other examples like Grisham. He just picked up his
Grisham too. Yeah, exactly.
Play center
That
field.
makes
To play center field. My issue is it's not that it's a bad roster as you say. It's a good roster. It's just clunky. The roster is clunky. There's no other way I can describe it. It's like the players are fine, but it's just clunky when you look at when you take a step back and you look at the fact that everybody's left-handed. That's clunky, and there is a lot of athleticism. That's clunky, and they all kind of do the same thing, apart from like one or two. Again, that's clunky. It's just like I don't think Cashman can see the wood from the trees. I really don't. I think at this stage, it's been 20 odd years, and I just don't think he knows how to put together a roster correctly or that makes sense.
Nope.
I mean, you're gonna have to sacrifice, some of the guys that he loves, like maybe McMahon or Volpe or Grisham or whatever, and take a step back and go, maybe we need to add some righty bats here that can actually like hit for average, and just do add something to the lineup. He just does not do it. It's like, I mean, I would say arrogant for sure, but it's a lot of complacency, delusion in there as well. It's a clunky roster. It makes no sense.
I also think a lot of the time we're like, listen, let's say for argument's sake, there's you've got the first top of the order, right? The bottom of the half order doesn't hit. Okay. You have guys like Volpe, you have McMahon, you have Wells. They don't hit. Nobody hits. I mean, like, okay, look, you got your Judge, you got your Bellinger, you got Stan. You got guys in the yard. Most of the guys don't hit. And then, like, when it's a key spot in the game, they don't hit. It's like, that's why. Listen, last year in the postseason, I looked at everything in the roster as a whole, right? The pitching wasn't good. The hitting kind of fell apart. But think of it this way. Let's just say, for example, the roles were reversed. And let's just say the Yankees put up a 3 spot in the first 2 innings, right? Does that not help the pitching? Kind of, they take relief off their back saying, all right, look, we have a lead. It's better to pitch from advantage than it is to pitch from behind. So, like, for me, you know, I'm just fed up with disappointment, and I'm fed up, like, leadoff hitters, like the first 2 guys in the lineup should be table setters. So let's just say if you take on the roster now, Caballero, Chisholm, I'm just giving, like, they have speed in their legs. You need guys that need speed. Okay, we talk about on base percentage. I understand, but, like, you have to try something to break to break, like, the bad habits, like the strikeouts, the constant grinding into double plays. If you guys who have speed on the bases, let's say Caballero leads off, and you have him there, and then he runs to second. Let's say he steals second base. That avoids a double play. Okay, they don't have that mixture of like the Dodgers have guys who have power. You got guys who have speed. You got guys who draw walks. You got guys who do a lot of different things. The Yankees don't have that roster. They don't have that. But for now, I do need to jump off. But I will join you again.
Strike out and hit home runs. They all strike out and they all hit home runs. This entire lineup, apart from Caballero, who's the one guy that does things a little bit different, and that's the one guy that isn't guaranteed to play every day, by the way. And it's the one guy that is doing exactly what you're talking about. Maybe working a tough account, maybe making contact, maybe just breaking up a double, just doing the smart things. And he's one of those players that I really like in the lineup. And he's not even guaranteed. Once Volpe's healthy, he's not even guaranteed to start. But that's what I'm talking about. Funky is like everybody apart from Caballero does the same thing. They strike out too much and they all aim for home runs. And I don't think that works. It might work over 162 games because analytics and all that stuff. And over 162, they'll hit enough home runs that they'll make the postseason, whatever. But once you're in the postseason, these issues come back to bite you in the ass, and the Yankees never pay attention to it. They just use the excuse it's a crapshoot without looking at their own faults. They just do not self-audit under any circumstances. They refuse to self-audit. They refuse to look at why did we get blown out by the Blue Jays in the postseason. It's just bad luck. Just call it bad luck. Let's call it a crapshoot, and let's roll the whole thing back. They've been doing it every year since 2009. There's always a new excuse without looking at, hey, you know what? Maybe my process needs to be looked at. You know what? Maybe we do need more guys like Caballero in the lineup. Maybe we do need to change things up a little bit. Maybe we don't need to be so pull heavy. Maybe we do need to look for batting average rather than just hitting 20 home runs and 250 times. It's like, maybe we do need to look at these things. But no. That's going to take too much work, and it's going to take too much accountability. And I don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tell the fans that you're a bad fan if you don't like what you just saw. And we're going to roll it back. And that's my issue with it. And that's it. Stevie B agrees. That's what the Yankees do. And that's why it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They keep doing the same thing over and over again.
I think a lot of the time, like, and here's one last thing, and then I got to jump. But one thing I'll say about, like, statistics and numbers. I feel about a week or two ago, I think I mentioned like numbers and how they aren't the be all end all. I know, like, a lot of the analytics now in baseball, and maybe across all sports, is really, really big now. And it's probably, I think it's at an all-time high in the past few years, and they base it off everything, like numbers this, numbers that. Let me tell you something. If you don't win, I don't give a damn about numbers. Winning is the number that I care about. And if you don't deliver in the clutch when it matters, I don't care. You could say, like, Aaron Judge in the 7th inning of later bats 330 with 2 runners on. Bro, listen, I go by the eye test. I go by what I see in front of me. And I don't care about numbers, dude. I don't care. It's like, we could talk about, he could bat 400 runs in scoring position, but who are we playing? Who were they? What was the pitcher? What were they against? There's so many variables and elements in the picture that make the numbers up. Like, for example, like, look, I work in information technology, right? Let's just say, for example, I work on 14 support cases, just for argument's sake, right? If let's just say my manager looks at 14 cases and 10 of them suck, right? And let's just say I close 10 tickets or whatever the case may be, and I work on them and then 10 of them suck. Do the numbers really matter? Of course not. You have to look into the granular details of numbers. That,
Good way to
but I
put
got
it.
to jump, guys. It was great.
Okay,
It was
before
great
you go,
talking
what
with
was
you.
your thoughts
Yeah.
on Aaron Judge and the WBC? Just before you go, what was your thoughts?
I really don't have any thoughts. I mean, like, I want to support my player. I like I really like Judge a lot, but I mean, like, to me, like, if I don't really care what he does in the WBC as long as he's ready for 162 and he has a
That's
good year and October translates and you know the rest. As long as he comes in and he's healthy and he plays the Aaron Judge way, I'm hoping that it translates in October and he does what everyone's hoping for, that breakthrough. So, but
right.
other than that, it's whatever. I mean, look, if it's going to happen. Other players didn't play well. It's too early. And I think that's just my thought. But look, guys, it was great talking with you. And I hope to get on the podcast again soon, huh?
Yeah,
Sounds great.
we'll look forward to it.
Have a great
All
day,
right, take
man.
care, guys. You too.
All right.
And we got Spencer in the chat. What's up, Spence?
You also have Spencer. Spencer, you just got to adjust your camera. Oh, there you go.
There
On the
he
screen,
is.
it only showed the top of your head. I was like, okay.
Oh, okay. Gotta adjust.
You're good now, though. You're good now.
Yeah.
It's funny,
Correction
you know, that
needed.
you're on with the open panel in the same day that our good friend Lynn is actually hanging out with us in the chat. Before we get into that, though, there was a comment that was put up. My phone's kind of little buzzing a little bit.
Yeah.
But pull this up here. Unfortunately, the news has broken. Chuck Norris, at the age of 86, has passed away. Who is an American icon. In movie and TV movie. So as a kid that grew up with him, you know, with all his action movies in the 80s, this is upsetting, but yeah, definitely Chuck Norris, rest in peace.
Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, it's with TV, movies. Yeah, Texas Ranger was on every grandparent's TV for a long time.
Yeah,
that's true.
But, so, but it's missing in action. TC that was the classic.
Yeah.
So Spencer, give us your thoughts on the rotation, the catching situation, and anything else. It's the open panel. The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Thank you. Is there anybody else with us on the open panel today? I don't want to hog.
It's just me, you, and Donald right now.
That's a good enough group.
Well,
By
the
the way,
link is open. Anybody in the chat that is free for 5 minutes.
Well, I'll start by saying
whatever on their break, hop on, say hello.
I'm the unfortunate Brooklyn Nets fan, while you and our friends are out there.
Go next, baby.
I hope they at least score 50 points, or so.
Yeah, that would be.
That would happen. The rotation, confident the rotation is something that's coming together. It's going to be a little, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I'm sure that makes a lot of Yankees fans nervous going into the season because we're going to be waiting for Cole to get there. We're going to be waiting for Rodon to get there. But I like Schlittler. I think he's going to, I think we're going to see some nice things from him. And I feel good with Max Fried starting the season. We hope that Max Fried looks like, his, Cy Young worthy self. And if he is, that should get us into May, and that should, help us, compete, until Cole comes back. Ryan Weathers, he's been struggling. He really didn't look good the other day in his spring training outing. But I do take the spring training outings with a grain of salt. He's not really up there, competing in a ball game. He's up there working on mechanics. He's feeling things out. He's thinking about, where his step is landing on the follow through, the arm angle, the pitcher, the batter that's at the plate, how he should pitch, compared to, comparing right-handed batters, to left-handed batters. It's all experimental. That's what spring training is about. Now, it doesn't look good, when you get beat 11-0. It definitely doesn't it doesn't evoke confidence. But I always like try to dial it back and say, this isn't really a true expression of how he will be in the when the season begins. But what
That's a great point, Spencer, and it's important to make that point that a lot of these pitchers, especially if you're not competing for a spot, if you're already kind of assured of a spot, a lot of them are just going to be looking to get their mechanics in order. So it's important that you bring that up.
Yeah. Once we get Cole back and once we get Rodon, that's when the season really begins. And if those guys are on their A game, if Cole, pitches like the staff ace, and if Rodon pitches like a 1A or a 1B compared to Fried, there's going to be a lot of winning in the Bronx, and there's going to be a lot of winning in New York, and I'm looking forward to it. I think Yankee fans have a lot to look forward to this summer. Getting ready, for the typical summer slide. Past history says that it's probably going to come, but also hoping that they'll surprise us, and we won't see something like a 7-game losing streak or any type of extensive losing streak as we go into the season.
But Spencer, here's my concern though. While we wait for Rodon and Cole, it's still unknown when they're going to return properly every 5 days. Until then, it's a little bit up in the air. We're only getting 3 starters that you are pretty much assured you're going to get a quality start every time. Luis Gil, love Luis Gil, but it might take him a little bit of time. And same thing with Ryan Weathers. He does have some issues, like career-wise, fastball, location and stuff like that. So if we only get 3 good starts out of 5, that means that Boone's going to have to dip into his bullpen more. And that bullpen's the one issue that is a question mark. If you dip into that more and more and more to try and bail out your starters in order to claw together some wins, by that point, your bullpen's going to be exhausted by the time Rodon and Garrett Cole are there. That's my concern.
I don't know if it'll be exhausted. I mean, that's making a lot of presumptions, but I definitely understand the concern of the Yankees because you're right. We're going into the season. We're going into March with a lot of unknown quantities. What are we going to get from Ryan Weathers? What are we going to get from Luis Gil? With Luis Gil, it seems to be more of a confidence issue in the wake of recovering from his injury. He's not, letting it all fly like he should. And, if you watch the Yes Network and if you watch the Yankees Hot Stove and if you watch MLB Network, that's what the common talk is that, he is a little, he's, not all the way because he doesn't want to re-injure himself. And Ryan Weathers is just, like a big unknown. The only thing we have to go on Ryan Weathers is that he is held in high regard. Of course, his father pitched for the 1996 Yankees, which is, of course, is celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. So he's a big unknown. He's either going to surprise us or he's going to fall flat. I mean, for me going into the season, all I want them to do between now and May 1st, just play 500 baseball. Play 500 baseball. That should at least keep you in the race. And when Cole comes back, then they'll turn the engines on. That's how I'm looking at it.
Do you think that'll keep us in the race though? Because there's a lot of good teams in the East. That's what I'm worried about. 500 might not be enough.
Again, we don't know what's going to happen with these other teams. Of course, Detroit. They really look like the class of the American League right now. The Detroit Tigers. We don't know what's going to happen with the Houston Astros. But you look at teams like the Blue Jays. Like everybody's expecting the Blue Jays, to rebound, but all of a sudden they're having trouble with their pitcher, what was his name? Miskovich. I can never pronounce the rookie guy last year. Yeah. All of a sudden, he's got an issue. Yeah, they're bringing back Max Scherzer, but Max Scherzer is in his mid-40s at this point. You never know what you're getting from a 40-year-old guy. So we don't know for certain if their lineup is going to hit the same way that they did last season. They might, but they lost a few pieces from last year. Springer's getting a little bit older. I don't know if they'll necessarily be the class of the American League. Boston, they lost Bregman. They've got some nice players like in Roman Anthony and a few other guys, but I don't really look at Boston as having this formidable lineup that's just going to run away with the East. Could they do it? Yeah, anything is possible, but they don't really make me. They don't make me scared. And Tampa Bay always an X factor, but I don't think Tampa Bay really has enough, to beat out the other teams. It's going to take a real. They're going to have to play some really good baseball to be able to do that. Also, like just thinking from the long term perspective of the season. Again, if we're okay, if we play like 500 ball, if that gets us through the spring, I expect the Yankees to win. I mean, I've said, I expect them to win 98 games, but if we take it down to 90 games, I think 90 games is going to get you a playoff position, maybe an undesirable wild card spot, but it will get you into the playoffs.
And you'd be okay with that?
Yeah, anything that gets you into the playoffs, I'm happy with. Being in the playoffs is better than not being in the playoffs. Of course, I would prefer a division title, and I think this team has what it takes to win a division title. I actually think they are going to win a title. But I'll take the wild card. It's better than sitting out.
No, of course.
I think that the Yankees.
Yeah. No, I'm
I
just
think the
wondering
Yankees can get.
kind of really compare with the top teams. Sorry, Taz.
I think the Yankees could actually get to off to a better start in the division than we think.
Yeah.
Only because like the Red Sox lineup, they're going to be without Tristan Casas. He's going on the IL for I forget what it was, and also your Savage is going on the IL for the Blue Jays.
Savage,
so you're going to have the Blue Jays without their new stud, their lineup is going to be a little different than what we've seen. There's no Bichette to damage, to hurt us anymore. He's now in Queens. So, I think that it's going to be one of those, if the Yankees can get off to that hot start.
Yeah.
And they do have a tendency to, they'll start the year strong and then, they'll play World Series caliber baseball until June. So, what am I wrong?
No.
So
I know you feel, but just when you're
as far as
paid.
I think as far as, but like you said, just stay healthy and keep your head above water.
Yeah.
Until help arrives. And I think with some of the unfortunates of injuries with other teams, because it is unfortunate. You want to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Yeah.
And you hate to see that other teams' stars go down. And but that's baseball season.
Yeah.
Injuries are just part of it now. But as far as overall in the American League, yeah, I think the Tigers are. I agree with you on that. I think the Tigers are going to set the standard.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of winning in Detroit, and they're very strong. They're better than last year. I thought last year that they were highly underestimated. They've got McDougal. I think is like this guy that he's going to power the lineup. And there's going to be a lot. They're a formidable team. I got to tell you, if the Yankees in October, if they were to face the Detroit Tigers, I would be very, very nervous. They don't have history on their side. They've got a nice mix of veterans and young players, and they've got really the best pitcher in the American League. Tarek Skubal. I mean, the guy is he's killer. And he's a little older, but their closer, Canley Jensen. If he's like Canley Jensen, will be they'll be in pretty good shape.
Don, what do you think?
I'm thinking that the fact that we're even talking about a team being probably better than the Yankees already is probably why I have so many issues with Brian Cashman's front office and his use of $330 million. I think you're right. I think the Tigers are the class of the American League right now. But then you could also say, don't discount the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays had an excellent offseason. So that's two teams I would say are better than the Yankees already in the American League. Then you're looking at the Red Sox are at least comparable. And then you've got the Astros, who are always
dangerous.
Very and irritating. Yeah, they are a very irritating team. So there's I mean, there's already two definite teams that are better than the Yankees already in the American League, and then you'd say that there's a couple of these comparable. That's what my major issue is. I'm not saying the Yankees are bad. I'm just saying with $330 million, shouldn't they be by far the best team in the American League? And they're just not close to
Speaking of
that.
$330 million, that brings me to Aaron Judge, because I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of a segment of Yankee fans that have been very critical of him. Some of it may be valid. A lot of, my opinion, I find to be invalid. But the more that I see these fans, criticizing our hero and our captain, Aaron Judge, for me, what it does is it leads me to ask, why is it that the fans, who have a narrative that works against Aaron Judge, or who simply dislike him, why is it that they seem to be the most vocal? I wish we would hear from more Yankee fans, that are supportive of him. And I don't mean blindly supportive. I mean, they're able to see the whole picture. It's so easy to fixate on a moment for instance, in the World Baseball Classic, where he strikes out, 3 times. Oh, Aaron Judge, doesn't come through in the big moments. Or in the playoffs last year in the ALDS, we remember he came up with runners in scoring position. I think it was game 1 or game 2, or maybe it was even with the bases loaded. Even though he hit 600, in those moments, he didn't get the big hit. Okay. But I mean, you can only be so fortunate to get those big hits. I mean, even the best hitters in baseball historically have not come through in big situations like that. It all depends on how myopic your picture is. We need to we need to stand up for a guy. Now, of course, if you agree with those fans, I guess you'll see it differently than from what I'm saying. But I think we need to stand up for Aaron Judge, and remind those fans Aaron Judge has come through in big spots before. Don't get fixated on that drop ball in the World Series. Don't get fixated on him making the last out in the 2022 American League Championship Series. He's done a lot of good for us. I like to remember, his first home run in the AL wild card in 2017. And he also got us on the board in 2018. He got the first run in the 2017 ALCS where, the Yankees were down 5-0. And that was the hit that got things started for the team. This guy's done a lot of good for us.
Yeah, no, and nobody's saying that he's hasn't done good for the Yankees or baseball. He's the face of the game.
Yeah,
and that comes with a lot of pressure, comes with a lot of criticisms.
Yeah,
and you're constantly he's going to be on trial for pretty much his whole career.
Yeah,
just as he has been. All right, so fans were crying that he didn't get, he didn't have an MVP along with his Rookie of the Year, where he lost out to Altuve, and play better the next year.
Yeah,
go back and get it, and he did. It's and he's won his MVPs, but the individual accolades don't take away the narrative that he's not been able to win the World Series. And the one time that he got there, and that's why the drop ball stands out. Like that's a pinnacle memory. That's a core memory for a baseball fan.
It's unfortunate.
Either if you're against the Yankees, that is your go-to comedy sketch when you really need a good laugh. They have that. When we want to say it's not that we look at it as one of the worst things that ever happened to us as a fan. So those are two different ways to look at it, and neither one is wrong. What I mean?
He really gave them some ammunition when he dropped that ball, And one thing I get tired of hearing, oh, the Dodgers went into the 2024 World Series, and it's like they had this meeting, and they said, okay, here's our plan. Our plan is we expect the Yankees to fumble the ball whenever it's hit to them. And when Judge dropped that ball, that was part of our plan. We knew it was going to happen, and that's what helped propel us.
No, they knew that their defense was flawed, and they exploited it.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry that I have to take.
It's not specific to a player. It was just our defensive play, and it was atrocious.
I agree with Glaber Torres. I mean, like you could not feel comfortable with him in the field.
But it was season long, Spencer. I'm sorry. They had scouts that were watching,
Yeah.
and it was a season long issue, my friend. Honestly, the Dodgers were very confident knowing that if you put the ball in play, by and large, they're not going to say judge, but by and large, they are going to make some mistakes because
that's what I'm saying.
because what they pinpointed a number of times was that they didn't have anyone that was backing up the third baseman if there was an errant throw to third base. They weren't covering the right bases, and this was a season-long issue. They said the base running was off. There's a number of issues with just the fundamentals of baseball. That's why they were confident. So I'm sorry, you can't make an excuse for that. That is on management, that is on coaching, and they don't pay attention to the small details, and the Dodgers did. So yes, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you there. As for Aaron Judge, I also disagree with you in regards to saying that I want to hear Yankee fans backing up our guy, as if you're not a Yankee fan if you don't back up Aaron Judge. There seems to be that. I take issue with that. Like, for instance, Aaron Judge is the best player. There's no doubt about it. He's the best player in baseball.
Yeah.
Like, we can all agree with that. But he's right there with Ohtani. Like, you can argue either way. But I mean, there's hardly a criticism to say he's number 2 or joint first or number 1, whatever. He's fantastic. Okay. Is he my hero? No, he's not my hero. Because I'm sorry. You're saying that he's our hero. He's not my hero.
Yeah, it's funny. I keep saying
I'll give you my hero, Derek Jeter. He's my hero. The guy wins championships, right? The guy led from the front, won championships, hit in the clutch, and did incredible things in October. Aaron Judge doesn't really step up that much in October, just by and large. So I can't just dismiss him dropping the ball in center field like that. It's part and parcel with tends to be what happens in the big moments with Aaron Judge, is that sometimes he needs others to help him, like Juan Soto and Big G and stuff like that. And real leaders, real captains lead from the front. And that's what Jeter was. That's why he's my hero. And there was other guys in the 90s and the thousands that were more my heroes rather than Judge, who I feel is just a fantastic player. But until I see him like lead from the front in October and get us there, then I'm sorry, he does earn the criticism, because when you have that C on your jersey, whether it's for Team USA or for the Yankees, that means that whether it's fair or not, you're going to get the most criticism and the most praise, by the way. But you have to take the slings and arrows, and he gets tons of praise for some of the most incredible things we've ever going to see. Last year is one of the greatest regular seasons of all time, no doubt about it, and he had a great postseason too. The 62 home run season was one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen in the world. And for me, that was probably the real home run record. You can make that case.
I agree with that.
As much as I love Barry Bonds, I think that the 62 is probably more real because there was nothing other than just pure talent.
Yeah.
I have an issue with that. Let's circle back to that at some point. Go ahead.
But so, I mean, I'm giving him his flowers. I mean, the guy has done unbelievable things. But you still have to pay attention to the fact that his numbers in the postseason is just not as good as what you would normally expect for someone who is that fantastic. Now, what I will say is baseball is one of the great equalizers. So you are going to have slumps. The greatest players are going to have slumps in the biggest moments. It's just unfortunate for Aaron Judge that once again it happened in the biggest moment. But, I mean, those at-bats in that final game were incredibly disappointing. Remember when Carlos Beltran got ripped to shreds as a Met for watching strike 3 in that huge moment? And Aaron Judge did the same thing twice in the WBC. There was fastballs right down the middle of the pipe, and he just sat and watched it. That is hugely disappointing. And I'm sorry, he has to take it. He has to carry it. And to say that you're not really a true Yankee fan if you criticize that, I feel is unfair. I think you're allowed
I'm
to.
not saying
You
you're
have
not
every right to
saying
criticize.
some
He
people
has,
have
he
this
has to.
disposition to look at it from that perspective, and there are a lot of fans that don't look at it from that perspective. But fan's a fan.
Right, but I mean, I just think that you don't have to say that you're not a true fan if you criticize what Aaron Judge did in those big moments. I mean, that's just unfortunately the truth. And I'm trying to be fair about it because he's done so many great things, but there was some things that he just doesn't just lead from the front with. I don't know if he's the greatest leader. Spencer, do you think he's one of the great leaders you've seen? Because you've been watching the Yankees a lot longer than I have.
Yes.
Would you say that he's one of the great leaders you've ever seen?
100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Better than Mattingly? Better than Jeter?
Munson?
I wouldn't start
Munson?
to him, to Mattingly, and to Jeter, but he is definitely one of the best leaders. He has the respect of the clubhouse. He has the respect of the league. He has the respect of the league offices. I mean, it's no accident that Mark DeRosa, when he was putting Team America together, the first player that he wanted was Aaron Judge. You never hear players speak badly about him, and players, they.
Would you make fun of a guy that size?
Spencer's getting ripped in the chat here. But that's what's great about our show is we allow different opinions. We love different opinions, and so keep going, Spencer.
Well, that's to answer your question, that's how I feel. I won't disparage your view. I mean, everybody comes at it from different directions, but the question is asked. But yeah, he is definitely one of the best leaders on the team. He has the respect of Giancarlo Stanton, who's about as big a leader as you could ask for on a baseball team. Lets his bat do the talking. He definitely leads and carries the team, at points. Does he have his struggles? Yeah, he has his struggles, but I mean, he's a guy, like, when he comes to the plate, no pitcher feels comfortable when Aaron Judge comes to the plate. They'd rather face anybody else besides him. So that's I think his leadership.
Oh yeah, there's no doubting Aaron Judge where you don't want to pitch to him. I mean, you have to be stupid to want to pitch to Aaron Judge. But I'm talking about leadership off the field.
Yeah, I just want to recap because we spoke a lot about Judge the other day, so giving Spencer the floor is fine, as we start wrapping things up. I said it the other day, right? We were discussing, what makes a captain. Right. And the one aspect of it that Judge lacks is he can't back up what he's preaching, and that's, in the postseason, if you want to carry your team, you have to perform to it. He had a good postseason last year, but it was all the series prior to that in the postseason where he left a lot to be desired from his performance. And if you want to walk, if you're gonna, talk the talk, you gotta be able to walk the walk.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing where Judge has not executed that to his ability, because we've watched him in the regular season.
Yeah.
But no athlete wants to be remembered as the greatest regular season player that ever,
Fact.
They want to be known as the best.
We definitely that ring. That's for sure.
They don't want that divide of postseason and regular season.
Yeah.
They want it all up together. Judge has not reached that plateau yet. That's why there's still fans that have that critique of him. And why, I choose not to, really criticize anybody's opinions, whether they're for or against.
Yeah.
Because, everybody is, everybody's entitled to their opinion. My job here is not to persuade anybody's opinion. It's just to give you a stage and a platform to voice your opinion.
But Jason completely agrees with Spencer here. He's that important to the Yankees, says Jason. So,
absolutely. We don't get to the postseason. We don't have postseason runs without him.
Yeah.
and luckily we have Stanton on the team that you can kind of pass the torch to,
Yeah.
And believe me, I said it also with Stanton. He's going to be under the spotlight, on the postseason run this year. Was last year a fluke, or is he starting to slip a little bit when it comes to the postseason?
I hope he hits 47 home runs. I hope we're seeing him circle the bases on his 500th home run.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
But it's not unusual that you have someone that's done some like historic things is going to have his number in Monument Park or and be beloved, but maybe just not have that big like postseason year yet. I mean, A-Rod, it took until 2009,
5 years to prove himself.
2009 until he really started to really understand and really come through in the big moment. It took a long time for him. Then you look at other sports. I mean, Patrick Ewing is absolutely beloved among Knicks fans, but everyone's going to remember his missed layup in the playoffs, or everyone loves John Starks for the Knicks, but he missed a ton of 3-pointers in the huge game. And unfortunately, those are the things that carry with you long after you finish your career. And I don't want Aaron Judge's drop in center field to be that. That's not what we want. But it isn't unusual to be an absolute marvel and a hero, but to have postseason moments kind of stop you. But at the same time, if you're going to take all the time praising the heroes that come through in the big moments, then that means you also have to criticize the ones that don't. So if you're going to praise the Eli Mannings of this world for the multiple championships, doing some incredible things when everybody doubted you, and you're gonna praise Tom Brady for all those championships, and you're gonna praise Michael Jordan for all his championships, leading from the front for their teams, then you also have to criticize the ones that don't step up in the big moment. Yeah, and at the moment, that is Aaron Judge.
The criticism, no doubt, criticism should always be expressed. I think what I was trying to say, what got lost, is that I'm hearing more fans who are the critics of Aaron Judge express their criticism of Aaron Judge. I'm not really hearing as much support of fans who support him or who would counter those positions speak up. You see it on Twitter. You see it on podcasts. You hear it on things like the Michael Kay show, for instance. You're always hearing fans call up to complain about Judge. You don't really hear fans calling up to say, what's good about his game, but to remind us, like the good things that he's done. That's really what I'm saying. Fans are certainly, right to criticize. And if you want to criticize, that's your right as a fan. And it's certainly not my business to tell somebody, how to be a fan. That's why I like because, all opinions are respected. That's rare. You go on to something like I forget the guy's name, Joe, whatever his name is. There's some guy, I went on his podcast one time and I gave a counter opinion, and I just got, grilled for it. I mean, I got ridiculed. It didn't hurt my feelings. I don't care what they say, but I mean, there was, talk about a platform where there's no respect. Whereas you come here, I might be in the minority. I accept that, but it's not like you guys are saying, you're an idiot, Spencer. Get off. You don't want
No. Look, the reason why, and to speak, to react to what you said in the now, is because the offer in the WBC is still fresh on the mind.
It sucks,
it's kind of a mute point to to try to defend a guy that just suffered a failure. So the fans are frustrated about it. And it doesn't add, to any resolution to have a bunch of pom-poms being waved when you just kind of fell flat on your face a little bit. And it wasn't the entire WBC, but that's the final moment.
Yeah, it's too bad that takes away like all the good
that
things.
That wound is still fresh.
Yeah,
because as much we always have to in the middle of our point go, but don't get us wrong, we love them, but we have to be honest about it. is if we're not honest, we're just we're a bunch of fakes. And we're just we're up here for clicks. We're not.
Yeah.
These are our opinions.
Right.
We're reacting to what's going on now. Like last night, Chris Northrup had a great short board show where they did go and take the deeper dive into his career.
Yeah.
In the defense of Judge to say, look, don't forget who this player is. It's not like he only plays in the postseason. He gets us to a lot of, he's got a lot of team accolades. He's got a lot of individual accolades.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have that trophy yet.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't really think it's his fault that we don't have a trophy, by the way.
No, I don't blame him at all.
I genuinely don't. I honestly think it's the front office that haven't put it around enough for me to. So it's like even this season, regardless of what Aaron Judge does, and I think Aaron Judge is going to hit 56 home runs. He's going to have a monster year, and he's going to bat over 300, and he's going to be Aaron Judge that we all love. But if and as I expect, if the Yankees don't end up with a World Series, it's going to take a lot for me to blame Aaron Judge for that, because I think that there's a far, far bigger issues than him maybe not being the greatest in the clutch in the postseason, because he is in the regular season. He's pretty clutch in the regular season. But in the postseason, he does have more down moments than up. I think we can all agree on that. But it would take a lot for me to even criticize Aaron Judge. And it would take a really horrible performance for me to do that, because I genuinely think that the problems far outweigh any minor issues that we have with him. I think it's the roster. I think it's Cashman. I think it's all those things, maybe Boone. But Judge is not on my list of concerns. Like, he's way, way low on the list of concerns for me. So that's it. I think it's important to add that caveat, and I think it's important that you're on it and you're reminding all the good things that Aaron Judge does, and we all know that. There's no doubt about that. And also, to your point, the loudest takes on Twitter aren't necessarily the correct takes.
Yeah,
it's because nowadays the louder voice tends to be the more clicks, tends to be the more money in your account, right? But that's not what we do. So I don't agree with the loudest voice necessarily a lot of the time. So I wouldn't worry about what the loudest voices are.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that is hot takes, but so I think you probably have a good head in your shoulders there, Spence. I think you're right on a lot of things, but I still think Aaron Judge does deserve criticism if he doesn't come through just as he's for all the things that he's going to do. That's just part and parcel of being the leader of a New York team. You're going to get criticism, man. You are. It's just the way it goes, whether it's fair or not.
Speaking of criticism, I know we're pressed on time here, but I wanted to get just a quick word in. The World Baseball Classic. I loved it. Was disappointed that Team USA didn't win. I liked a lot of the little stories that were in there. One of the stories I keep getting fixated on, Andrei Sartura of Team Czechia throwing 4 2/3 scoreless innings against Team Japan. I think stories like that are great. I liked how Australia played against Team Japan. The issue, when to play the World Baseball Classic, I like it exactly where it is. There's been, contemplation about putting it around the All-Star break, doing something similar to hockey, maybe extending the All-Star break to about 2 weeks to squeeze this World Baseball Classic in. I like the World Baseball Classic in March. For me, it's like an opening act. It really gets me excited about the upcoming regular season. I think if you put it in the middle of the summer, and this is something that was reinforced by an interview I heard or discussion I heard between Buster Olney and Tim Kirchian. You know those guys. Tim Kirchian pointed out, if you put the World Baseball Classic with the All-Star game, here's what you're going to do. You're going to have players playing with intensity, regular season intensity for 81 games. Then some of them come to the All-Star break and they play with a different kind of intensity for the All-Star game. Then they're supposed to up their intensity for the World Baseball Classic, in addition to going to different parts of the country or even different parts of the world. And then after the World Baseball Classic is supposed to end, they're supposed to bring that intensity back down or return their intensity to the regular season. For me, it's just a lot of mental gymnastics, not just for the players, but for the fans as well. So that's why I would advocate keeping the World Baseball Classic where it is. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't know.
I don't think there's any other time you could do it. Well, you can do it in the middle of the summer, because if you got injured just before your postseason run, then insurance companies are going to go insane, and also the teams that are competing for postseason are going to go insane. So that's just not going to work. October, it's not going to work because you're already winding down, you're already exhausted, and it's time for a break. The only time you can really do it is March, when everyone is in spring getting ready to play baseball. There's no other time you can do it.
I prefer it in March, Donald. I love it, like baseball all day long, especially in that first week. I mean, I'm watching Japan and Australia in the morning. Then I'm watching Cuba and Puerto Rico. Then I'm watching, nighttime. The U.S. comes on, and 3 o'clock in the morning is another Team Australia game. It's like, this is a baseball fan's dream.
That's awesome.
Well, that's why I think it really fits in March. Is we haven't had baseball, for the winter, and it's like the perfect opening act. Because you get into it because it's you want to see games, a competitive game. Whether you think it means anything or not, I mean, there's still an excitement around it. And there are people that even some of the guys in the chat, they're not big fans of of the WBC. I still think it needs to stay during spring training. I would like to see, once you get through all the qualifiers, I do think the one and done is going to change. I do think over time it's going to be more. It's going to be a longer tournament. I could see it almost like the wild card, where you have to win 2 games to advance. Because one game sometimes you're not going to see, like. Really, would Team USA beat Dominican Republic in a best of 3? Maybe not. You caught a team sleeping for one game. And then you got Venezuela caught you sleeping. So one game doesn't really define a team. Baseball's not set up that way. But it's still too much. It hasn't grown enough yet for them to start expanding it at all. But that is something I would personally like to see.
I'd like it to be biannual, but I'll tell you what.
More often,
I'll tell you what. I think what we could all learn is the passion that those other countries had for their team, like Venezuela, the DR. They were loud, they're passionate. Japan, they were loud and passionate, and they brought a lot of fun atmosphere to a baseball game. I mean, I'm sorry, Yankee games these days are a little bit too corporate and a little bit too like the noise is being piped in rather than it being genuine. So it was nice to watch a game where it was like locked in from inning 1 to inning 9, just loud fans. It was cool. It was nice. It kind of reminded me of the old days with the Yankees. So certainly would hope that maybe that passion can get translated, but it's hard. At the end of the day, the DR just genuinely loved their country. Venezuela genuinely loved their country. And I just don't think it was the same for Team USA. I think Team USA were playing as if it was an extended spring and they were just getting ready for the season. I don't think it meant as much for their Team USA as it did for other countries.
I definitely feel like the hunger and the passion for those Dominican teams. No doubt about it. And Donald, to what you're saying too about noise being pumped in, that is, I agree with that 100%. And to add to what you're saying, one thing I started noticing over the last few years, when you go to a ball game, you go to Yankee Stadium, there is a soundbite between every pitch.
Yes.
When you go to a ball game these days, you got to be prepared to come home with a headache, really.
Yes.
To have noise.
Yes.
But pay attention to that. There is a soundbite between every pitch. That is no exaggeration.
And it's getting worse, Spencer. It's getting worse rather than better. I mean, me and Taz, we went to the game when it almost got rained out, and
yeah,
you're right. Every single pitch, there was a
everything needs a sound. Yeah,
everything needed a sound, and it was kind of like a kid on a soundboard, just like pressing random buttons, just like Nino, just wild, crazy noises that are just you just don't need. Exactly. Yeah. The thing was, I went to Fenway this year, and it was different. It was genuine, like genuine crowd noise rather than it being forced, piped in, stupid noises, Darth Vader noises, all that shit. So I have to say, Fenway had the Yankee Stadium beat in that regard. It was like a genuine atmosphere rather than piped in atmosphere. So I think Yankee Stadium really needs to change. It's like they think that everybody has ADHD. They think everybody has like the attention span of a gnat, that you need every single pitch to be like a soundbite. You don't. Allow the atmosphere to build naturally. Naturally. They just don't do it. It's driving me insane at Yankee Stadium, honestly.
I agree. I want to wax poetic about the World Series. I'm gonna assert amongst this group respectfully, no one wants to win a World Series more than me. And I say that, reflecting back on the 2009 World Series, and I was there for Game 6. Let me tell you what it's like when you're in attendance for a World Series title-winning game. Depending on the nature of the game, the complexion of it, it started at about the sixth inning. When the Phillies, kept making, out after out, you could feel a crescendo build and rise with the fans, and you could tell that everybody was thinking the same thing. What I was thinking, is this really going to happen? Am I really going to be here for a part of history? And those feelings, they swell with every inning that passes. 7th inning, 8th inning, and then you get to the 9th, and you're like in nirvana. You can't believe that this is going to happen. And when it finally does, you don't know whether to like scream your head off and like just lose your voice. I remember I called up my mother and father, and I just raised the phone, to the air, and I said, this is what it sounds like when the Yankees win the World Series. And
oh my God!
I still remember the people in front of me. It was like these, they were younger than me. They looked like kids. They were just out of college, and they were going crazy. They were going nuts. There was the usher, Gus, who I befriended during the season. Me and my then fiance, Irina, we took pictures with him. It was just amazing. Everybody wanted to turn around and get pictures so you could like show the players on the field and everything that was happening on the field. There was all the noise. You didn't want to leave. When I left, like after thinking about it, you realize, I may not have a stat. I may not be on the roster. I may not have any kind of play, but without fans there to witness it, it really doesn't mean as much. And to just be a part of that experience was great. And you realize you're a part of the experience, with fans from other ages, 77, 78, 1961. Going back to the Yankees' first World Series, you're a part of something, that not many people are lucky enough to get to be a part of. But as long as there is baseball, this history, this tradition is going to continue. And I
felt the same thing at the old stadium watching David Cohn's perfect game. That the atmosphere was unbelievable, and you felt it right from like the 5th inning onwards. That you knew what everyone else was thinking. They were like,
"Yes,
are we about to witness history? Oh my God!" And then it built up into the crescendo of the 9th inning, and it was just an unbelievable experience. It was incredibly addictive, and hence my Yankee obsession ever since. So
unfortunately, hold on, Spence, because we are out of time. So
we could go on for hours.
Yeah. But appreciate everybody that did come on the
Yeah.
open panel. Also join us in the chat. Just remember to hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. So this is Pitch Rock Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. We have Donald and Luca. Hope you all enjoy your weekend. We will be back on Monday, 10:15, live as always. So remember, wear those Pitch Archer pride and play hard.
Great show, y'all.
Great show.